in May 1980, analysis of near Spirit Lake revealed many vertical floating tree trunks in it. During the flood, such tree trunks would easily have quickly been surrounded by sediment and buried. Edward L. Holt, upright trunks of neocalamites form in the upper Triassic. Journal of Geology 55 from 511 to 513, 1947. Stephen A. Ustin of Mount St. Helens and Catastrophism in Impact July 1986, page 13. Next, Sunderland interviews the experts 1980 to 1981. Over a one-year period and with their permission, Luther Sunderland tape-recorded interviews with three of the most important paleontologists in the world, who are in charge of at least 50% of the major fossil collections on the planet, covering every basic fossil discovery in the past 150 years. He found that not one of them could name a single missing link. A halfway species between our regular species. L.D. Sunderland, Darwin's Enigma, page 89. There are no transitional forms. For more on this, see Chapter 12, Fossils and Strata. Chicago Evolution Conference, 1980. While the newspapers, popular magazines, and school textbooks emblazoned evolutionary theory as being essentially proven scientifically in so many ways, the evolutionary scientists were discouraged. They knew the truth. The Switzerland, Worcester, and Abelard meetings had clearly shown that theirs was a losing cause. However, in yet another futile effort, in October 1980, 160 of the world's leading evolutionary scientists met again, this time at the University of Chicago. In brief, it was a verbal explosion. Facts opposing evolution were presented, and angry and insults were hurled in return. The following month, Newsweek, November 3, 1980, reported that a large majority of evolutionists at the conferences agreed that not even the neo-Darwinian mechanism of mutation working with natural selection could no longer be regarded as scientifically valid or tenable. Neither the origin nor the diversity of living creatures could be explained by evolutionary theory. I can't believe this. This is just crazy. This is why, as evolutionists and those who believe in evolution, why you can't see that this is all a bunch of lies. You had in the Chicago meeting, you had hundreds of how many was it? You had I just can't believe it. 160 of the world's leading evolutionary thinkers, who were leading evolutionary scientists, make a statement. A large majority of evolutionists at the conference agreed that not even the neo-Darwinian mechanism of mutations working with natural selection could no longer be regarded as scientifically valid or tenable. Neither the origin nor diversity of living creatures could be explained by evolutionary theory. Roger Lewin, Evolutionary Theory Under Fire in Science, November 21st, 1980. J.R. Taylor, Great Evolutionary Mystery, 1983, page 55. Why is the public still told that evolution is essentially proven and all the scientists believe it, when both claims are far from the truth? New York City Evolution Conference, 1981. The following year, another important meeting was this one at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Colin Patterson, a senior paleontologist at the British Museum of Natural History, read a paper in which he declared that evolution was positively anti-knowledge and added, "All my life I have been duped into taking evolution as revealed truth." Yet Patterson is in charge of millions of fossil samples, and he is well acquainted with the collection. Commentating on the crisis, another scientist, Michael Ruse, wrote that the increasing number of critics, including many with the highest intellectual credentials, Michael Ruse, Darwin Theory and Exercise in Science, in the New Scientist, June 25th, 1981, page 828. Whew, my friends, it's very, 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 very devastating stuff, this, my friends. Panspermia, 1981. Amid the series of desperation and despair rising from evolutionary scientists, one of the most famous scientists of the 20th century, a Nobel Prize winner, came up with a new theory. In 1981, Francis Crick, the co-discoverer of the structure of the DNA molecule, published a book declaring that directed panspermia was responsible for life on Earth. According to this theory, people from another planet sent a rocket down with living creatures on it in order to populate our planet. Crick admits that this does not explain how nearly all our plant and animal species came into existence, nor does it explain the transportation problem. Centuries of travel through the cold of outer space would be required. This theory is a desperate, grasping effort to provide a solution to the question of how living creatures originated, a puzzle which thousands of scientists in 150 years of diligent work have not been able to solve. Very few intellectuals have accepted panspermia. My friends, panspermia is a desperate attempt. My friends, come on. When you start pumping out that kind of nonsense, it means it's all over for evolution. You would agree? Would you agree? I'm sure you would agree. It's absolutely desperate that you would come up with that kind of nonsense. Absolute desperation. Panspermia. Woo! Crazy days for the evolutionist. Crazy days. Cambridge Evolution Conference in 1984, desperate for a solution. In 1984, a seminar held at Cambridge University, Stephen Gould's hopeful monster theory, was discussed. The wild idea that a lizard laid an egg one day and a bird hatched. Karl Popper's theory of science was also discussed. Popper is an expert on the philosophy of science. His position is that a theory must be testable. Evolution, of course, does not meet the test. See chapter 37, Philosophy of History, on our website. Yeah, just a little bit of an interest. Show me how natural selection and mutation that produces new species. Show me. Show me by a test that this is the case. The mechanism is the case. Show me. If you can't test it, then you can't believe it, if you know what I mean. And a second mechanism changeover in 1980s. The utterly unscientifically hopeless monster theory which Richard Goldschmidt proposed in the 1930s. Hey, I tell you what you evolutionists can do. You could put your monster theory and your panspermia theory and have a pans monster theory to come up with how life came on the earth. Oh, come on, my friends, it's just desperate. Yet as the years passed and a great mountain of evidence surfaced against both natural selection and mutations as a mechanism across species change, the experts felt desperate. There was nothing left but the theory of sudden, miraculous million mutation, beneficial changes once every 50,000 years, which Gould, Stanley and their associates were increasingly urging. Just as astronomers had, in desperation, accepted the ridiculous Big Bang explosion theory 20 years before as the cause of a universe of orderly galactic system, so the biological evolutionists now went farther out on their own evolutionary limb. Geneticists, biologists and paleontologists recognized that the evolution of one species out of another was impossible. Otherwise, evolution is in hopeless desperation, fled to an imagined hopeful monster. Answers in Genesis in 1980 started Answers in Genesis, a creationist organization now located in Florida, Kentucky. It has rapidly become a powerful voice in unveiling evolutionary errors in meeting on college and university campus and elsewhere. For every one creationist organization now in operation, there ought to be 100. Why not start one yourself? Why not start one yourself? Halton C. Arp eliminated. In 1983, a leading astronomer and president of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific in the early 1980s, ARP, carried on research for over 30 years, including extensive research time at Palomar and Mount Wilson observatories. He studied over 260 galaxies in more than 80 groups and tabulated 24 main galaxies and 38 discordant redshift companions, plus much more. His studies clearly refuted the speed theory of redshift, which, with background radiation, was the crutch that evolutionists leaned on to defend the Big Bang. Holton Arp, Quasars, Redshift and Controversies in 1987, page 5, plus many scientific articles. Threatened with disbarment from US observatories if he did not stop tearing down one of the two Big Bang pillars, he refused. A few eminent astronomers, including the renowned astrophysicist Geoffrey Burbidge, made impassioned pleas for everyone to keep an open mind, but to no avail. In 1983, Caltech's Telescope Allocation Committee decided that ARP's line of research was not worthy of support, and he was to receive no more time for his work at the telescopes of Mount Wilson and Palomar observatories. Refusing to switch over to politically acceptable studies, he left Caltech for a position in the Max Planck Institute of Munich, where he continued to pursue his ideas. Referring to abrupt and ignoble ouster, Burbidge later wrote, "No responsible scientist I know, including many astronomers who were strongly opposed to Arp's thesis, believes justice was served." Time, Life, Cosmic Mysteries, 1990, page 67, 68. I mean, that is just absolutely indicting of evolutionary thinking, because any scholar, I mean, this was a guy of tremendous eminence,